That sacred text was guarded by the care of scribes and scholars for thousands of years after Akiva's time. It stayed the same, though they had one major task in hand. You see, as the Jews spread out through the Mediterranean, up into Europe in the diaspora, their accents changed. So the old system of writing Hebrew, which was mainly in consonants, didn't work anymore because as people read it, it sounded different and seemed to mean different things. So the scribes invented an elaborate system of vowels, and they also started to space the words and the sentences and the paragraphs for the first time. But can you imagine the care? Really 1,500 years of careful copying. And can you imagine too how wonderful it must have seemed when printing came along? How you could set up a page of type, make sure it was absolutely correct, and then print off hundreds and hundreds of copies. And so, within 30 years of Gutenberg printing the first Bible, Jews printed a Hebrew Bible in Hebrew. And this is it, a copy of the first printed Hebrew Bible, made in the 1480s, most of them. And there's the sacred text up there. And you see how it's become surrounded by this scholarship, like a great protection around the Holy Word. It's a marvel of printing. In fact, the whole book is an extraordinary story. Christians didn't want Jews printing things. They were hounded out. There was a duke in Milan who allowed a little family of Jewish printers to settle in a village called Soncino. And from that village, Jewish printers were trained who went out with portable printing presses all over Europe, actually from Spain to Istanbul. And they printed what are now called these Soncino Bibles in many different towns. Small Bibles, fugitive Bibles, you might say. Luther used one of these when he was on the run, when he was translating a Protestant Bible, the sort of father of all Protestant Bibles. He used the Soncino Bible. Now, the Catholic Church, too, was very interested in the new scholarship and was evolving whilst printing was coming up. This extraordinary work here is one of the earliest examples of this new scholarship that went with printing, really. The Complutensian Polyglot. It's wonderful, isn't it? Polyglot means many languages. Complutensis is the town in Spain, Alcalá, where it was printed by a very proud Catholic cardinal. There's his coat of arms and his hat, a magnificent Renaissance title page. Now, the book is a major work of scholarship, and for the first time in history, all the versions of the Hebrew Bible and the Old Testament have been brought together on one page, the three major versions of the West. Here is the Greek translation of the Hebrew text made before Christ, the Septuagint, in the Hellenistic cities. There is the Soncino Bible, that text copied from those first printed Bibles. And there in the middle, the Orthodox Latin text of the Catholic Church. The cardinal says that these two volumes hang like thieves either side of Christ, talking about the Orthodox Latin. That's not quite the end of the Hebrew Bible. You see, the Soncino Bibles weren't as precise as Jewish scholarship would like it. And so 20 years later, in the 1520s in Venice, a Tunisian Jew called Jacob Ben Chaim edited the text of the Jewish Bible that we still have today. And this is a copy of it. Look, magnificent Renaissance binding. This is a product of some of the finest printers of the Renaissance, printed in Venice in the High Renaissance. And look at the title page with the new architecture on it. And there the Hebrew language in the middle. A magnificent volume. And literally the same text you will find in Hebrew Bibles today. And there it is, again, the Bible itself, covered by the commentary. And the most curious thing is, perhaps, that he worked and was paid by a Christian, Daniele Bomberg. Bomberg believed that really the roots of Christian religion lay in this book, the Hebrew Bible. And he and his sons continued to produce these books for generations. In fact, they actually had to get special permission for the Jews of Venice to leave the ghetto to come and work in his Christian print studio. And he got special permission, too, for them to leave their yellow hats behind that they always had to wear outside the ghetto. Ben Chaim said of his work that Bomberg was sent to him by God. He asked me to purify the text, and he said, I worked on it, I worked on it, I worked on the words, I worked on the marks, and I worked on the phrases until they were as polished silver and purified gold.
An authentic copy must be the exemplar from which the transcriber ought not in the least to deviate. No word or letter, not even a jot, must be written from memory. Between every consonant, the space of a hair or thread must intervene. Between every word, the breadth of a narrow consonant. Between every new section, the breadth of 9 consonants. Between every book, 3 lines. The 5th book of Moses must terminate exactly with a line. The copyist must sit in full Jewish dress, wash his whole body, not begin to write the name of God with pen newly dipped in ink, and should a king address him while writing that name, he must take no notice of him.